Hi everyone, it's Mike here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'll just put my coffee down there. So a couple of years ago, when we first moved into this house in Barnsley, I started this journal. I called it my volume of the dolls, because it was designed to try and use up the masses and masses of Tim Holt's paper dolls that I'd accumulated over the previous few years. And I slowly worked through this altered book where I had kind of thinned out the pages, glued a load together and then decorated the front and back. Started it in December 2019, so we'd moved into the house in May 2019. And then it wasn't long after, obviously, when COVID hit and the pandemic and lockdown. And that's kind of where the journal finished. That's where I did the last page. The last page was done in May 2020. So literally it was just a year's worth of working in the journal. And I did the social distanced paper dolls in there, and that was like the last page in there. So I was thinking recently that because we're about to move again, it might be fun to start a new one. So what I did recently was, when I went to the supermarket, I purchased one of those charity books. So this is a Dick Francis book called Second Wind. Haven't read it. Think it's about horse racing. Not really sure. Not really my cup of tea, but it was just, like I said, it was in the charity section. And I thought, well, that's just a nice size, actually, for working in. It's a lovely kind of size. Don't ask me how big the actual pages are, because I haven't got a ruler, so let me go and get one. There we go. Just run over to the West Wing. So this is, it's about 6 inches wide by so it's 230 mils, so that's going to be around just over 9 inches tall. So it's quite a nice sized journal. And if I do double page spreads, that gives me a lot of creative real estate to play with. So today, what I thought I would just do is dig out or dust off or open up my packet of all the kind of remnant carte noir art shapes that I've got left, that I've started to use on the sheet, and then obviously there's bits and pieces left. I thought I would just build up a little front cover. Now I know you can't see that because it's black on one side, but it's white on the other. So, and I'm going to paint them. So what I'll do, because it's a black surface, I'll just kind of like start laying these out whichever way, and then I might flip them over. So we've got some chicken wire. We've got some of the torn like notebook edges, which I kind of like. These are, if you don't know about the carte noir, they are, like I said, black on one side, white on the other. They are 1,500 microns thick, so they are quite thick. They are card based, so you can paint on them and do anything with these. You can literally cover them in paint, you can cover them in waxes, you can cover them in any kind of colour medium that you want. And like I said, black on one side, white on the other, as I always say. Funerals, weddings, funerals, weddings. So there you go. And there's loads and loads of different art shapes that I've done, and I keep adding to them every so often. There's a new couple set that I've just added on recently, which are slide frames. And I don't know whether I've actually got a copy of those slide frames. I thought I had. Perhaps I haven't put any in here just yet, because I think I've done a project with the slide frames. Oh, they're here, look. There we go. So slide frames, as you can see. So they were the latest addition to the carte noir family. And like I said, I don't make a big fanfare about it. I don't like go mad and go, you know, these are brand new, blah, 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 blah. I just add them in as and when, and then I use them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play audition pieces on the front cover of the book. And, you know, depending on how how it looks, depending on which way around I do it, and depending on which way I want them to face, depends whether or not it's going to look white or black. So it doesn't really make any difference because it's all going to get painted anyway. But for the purpose of, you know, showing you guys what I'm doing, I suppose I should have really painted the front of the journal with white gesso to start off with, but you know what, you think of these things after the fact, don't you? So there's a nice baroque flourish there, beautiful kind of organic feel to that. So I think because it's paper, or because it's cardstock, it's light, so it's not gonna be big and it's not gonna be bulky to kind of weigh down what you want. I like these numbers as well, so let's move that up there. And it would be nice actually to have the numbers coming 1, 2, 3, 4 down and stuck down there. Do you know what? I think we've hit it. I think I like that. So, and because we're gluing it onto the front cover of a book with cardstock, we don't need any like really heavy duty glues or anything. So I think my grab and go, the indigo blue grab and go, should be more than adequato for what we need for this project. So let me just pull that off to one side, and then there we go. And I'll just add a few, and bearing in mind I am going to be painting, going over this with paint, so we don't need to be too precious about making sure glue doesn't go anywhere, because it's going to be transparent when it dries, but we will be adding a layer of paint anyway. And I always think these kind of ad hoc made up journals from old books are usually quite fun, and I could just take that over the edge of the page there just to give that a little bit of a break. Yeah, they can be quite fun sometimes because you don't have to get too precious. That has started to delaminate on that, but I must have started to play with that one. Let's just trim that a little bit off and make it, there we go. Yeah, like I said, they're only 1,500 microns, which equates to in millimeterage, about 1.5 millimeters thick or thereabouts. I'm not sure what that is in inches. It's going to be like 3/16 or something ridiculous like that. I'm afraid I was brought up, I went to school pre-decimalisation, post-decimalisation, sorry. So I'm not as comfortable with feet and inches as I am with centimetres and millimetres. Alright, so the next piece, like I said, it doesn't really make any difference which way around you stick these down, unless you want something facing a particular direction or you've got letters and numbers. I do have a set of spooky letters that I did for Halloween, so it's one of those things. But like I said, they're only cardstock anyway, so you can colour them however you want. It's entirely up to you. And so I can hear somebody creeping into the background. Hello.
Hello, this looks interesting.
I'm finally getting around to using that Dick Francis book I bought.
Lovely. Hello, everyone.
So I'm going to use some of the Carte Noire just to create a kind of relief collage onto the front cover.
And you're going to paint it?
I am. I'm going to paint it.
What colour are you going to paint it?
I don't know. I might do it a multicoloured.
I mean, the base coat, is it black or white? Or...
Well, it's black to start off with, but I might start off, I don't know, I'll probably end up giving it a coat of black gesso.
Yeah, just to seal it.
Yeah, and then what I might do, just because I haven't used them for a while, is I might break out the Luscious powders.
Oh, yes.
And give it a nice metallic, shiny front cover.
Well, that sits in there. It's almost thought about.
I think actually that's the way it comes
Is
on
it?
the sheet.
All right, fair enough.
I think there's the film strips and there's the Viewmaster, half the Viewmaster inside there on the sheet. I haven't got a full one here to show you, but...
Oh, that's great. I'm just going to the shop.
Okay,
I've got pennies.
I was going to say, I was going to give you some to get some ginger beer for me.
No, it's fine. I've got some pennies.
Okie dokie.
Okay, I'll see you later.
All right then. Drive careful.
Will do. We just found some rice on the landing.
Somebody's been eating his breakfast. Right, so we'll stick that about there. Okie dokie, and I like these numbers. I like the fact that they're going to be coming down, so I'll have to do those black side up because otherwise the numbers will be backwards. So we'll stick the first one up there. It's kind of one of these ad hoc things that you don't really, it's not really planned. Put number 2 there, and then I want to add the birdie in because we like birdies. We do like birdies. Birdies have been a theme these past few days. If you're one of my angels, there's some of my folk art watercolory birdies that I've put on there as images for you to use as well. So yeah, if you're one of my angels, then please feel free to pop across to the angel section of my website where you will find those ready to play with. So at number 3 we'll put here. Actually, let's tuck it under there. So it looks like the birdies. That's it. It just gives a little bit more stability to that little birdie, doesn't it? Like I said, I do apologise you can't actually see the black on the black. It's going to get worse because I'm going to be painting it, giving it a coat of black gesso as well. So there's that there. Now then, is there anything else here that I've got that we might just be able to use just to add maybe a bit more detail? There's another little film strip. Let's add that one as well. Why not? Why not indeed? Right, it's going to bend a little bit, but that's all right. So the birdie's on. Now then, a little snail here as well. Look at this cute little snail. Snail mail. Different sizes. Again, they're all there on the website if you're interested in those. I like that snail. I might stick him so he's like that, just coming over. Just give some glue onto those little antennae. That's cute. I like that. Yeah, it just gives a little bit of depth and that kind of stuff. I've got all sorts of other little bits and pieces here as well. I've got more birds, more snails. There's another one of those Baroque kind of flourishes that we could add on just to give it a bit more depth. Should we add one there? Yeah, why not? There's nothing wrong with using up and shopping your stash. There we go. I'll just drop that there. Right, I think that will do for the front. I could do something similar to the back at a later date. That's not a problem. So what I need to do now is just come in with a little bit of a wet paintbrush just to remove just a little bit of that glue. Let's have a look at what we got. You don't have to do this. It just depends on how much of a perfectionist you are, really. Like I said, it's gonna disappear anyway, mostly, when you start to add paint, but there's not a huge amount really. All right, what I'll do is I will give this a few minutes just to kind of sit, grab and dry, and then when we're ready I'll come back. So I will see you in a little while. It gives me a chance also to finish off my coffee, doesn't it? Back in a bit. All right, so that's pretty much all dried now. I noticed, I'm just reviewing the footage from the previous bit where I was sticking this down, and that's every time I lifted my hand up, it was kind of going out of focus or focusing on what I was doing. So what I've done is I've put my auto exposure and auto focus lock on the front cover here. So if I do that, it's going to be blurred. But if I do that, it isn't, because it's focusing on the front cover at that distance there. So hopefully it won't go blurry again. So what I've done is I've gone into my Luscious Pigment Powder collection and I've pulled out some blues and some greens and an accent colour of Penny Dreadful Copper, which is lovely, absolutely lovely sort of colours. So that's what I've decided we're going to do with this. We're going to go blues and greens. But before we do any of that, I have to find what Ian's done with the black gesso. There it is. So give it a shake. Grab the brush that I had earlier, which isn't very big. That's fine. So what I'll do is I'll just grab some of that gesso from the lid, and then we'll just start going in and kind of filling in all those nooks and cranny areas that might just show up underneath feet and that kind of stuff. So as watching somebody paint gesso is totally and utterly boring, what I will do is I will probably speed through, fast forward, whatever it is, whichever's going to be the quickest and the easiest. But I'll probably do it in post edit. So I'll keep the camera rolling, and then I'll decide, depending on how long the video is going to be, how much footage I've got. Depends on whether I fast forward through or jump cut to the end. All right, we're back. It's actually, for me, it's been about an hour and a half because lunch took precedence, and because Ian had gone to the shops to buy me something rather lovely for lunch. So he's just treated me to a rather lovely lunch. So yeah, and also I had to put my phone on charge. So that's that sorted. Right, There we go, as you can just see. So I've got all those luscious pigment powders out, like I said before. I've got blues and I've got greens and I've got some copper greens. This one is Olive Grove, which is green and gold. I've got copper green, so green with a little bit of flecks of copper in it, and then there's different blues, so 3 different shades of blue. And I've got some gilding gum, which dries completely clear, but is quite glossy. Now then, I did have a pin, so I just need to clear the nozzle there, I think, because it's got some dried in. There we go. Happens to most glue things. Oh, I've just stabbed myself in the finger. All right, so let's put some gilding gum there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with some of the darker colours. So this is the dark blue. It's called Out of the Blue, which is a beautiful kind of indigo-y blue, which is just perfect. Oh, before I forget, I also painted out the gold writing on the spine of the book as well. So that Dick Francis second wind, I think it said. 2 coats of black gesso, got rid of that as well. So right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a little bit of the gilding gum on the brush, both sides. I'm going to dip it into the pot, which is going to pick up the powder, and then I'm going to just bring it down and then just mix it in to create a paste. So, and I can go as thin and fluid or as gloopy as I want. So what I'm going to do is just come in from the side like this and just start to layer that down. So I'm not going to try and get like an even straight line down the side. I'm going to try and just come in with those different colours in different areas. So again, pick some up on the brush, into the powder, create your paste. And like I said, you can go as thin or as thick as you want. So what I'm doing is I'm going into the depths, because this is the darker of the colours, into that kind of background, because I can add subsequent lighter shades over the top once this is dry, and this will dry pretty quick. So let's do that bird. There we go. You can see how shiny it goes. That's because these pigment powders have got mica in them. Which makes them lovely. So we'll start off with that darker colour, like I said. Just spots in areas. And like I said, when it dries, we can go over with other colours. So I'm just going to blend that bluebird. Let's just make sure we've got enough on the bluebird. Just on its back on there. And then we can come in later and blend out with some other colours. Right, so this is going to be one of those situations where we're going to be doing the dance, backwards and forwards, different areas, adding different colours, different layers. So when I'm ready, I'll just wash the brush. I've got kitchen roll towels just to clean the brush off, and then we can swap some more gilding gum. Oh, that's quite a lot. And then come in with a different colour. So this one's going to have a bit of silver in there. So wet the brush, dip in, and then we can start just creating a lighter blue palette, a bit more of the powder, and it doesn't matter if we get a little bit of that darker blue in there. So once we've created the paste, we can then come in and start adding it in to those other areas and start blending it out. So this is going quite silvery. Oh, look at that. A lighter colour. And I'll just keep going backwards and forwards, adding in different shades, different tones in different areas around. So what I'll do is I'll probably go on to fast forward. And I'll join with you again when I think I've probably got either enough on or I need to impart some more information. Let's take a bit of that. Okay, I'm going to just call a halt to it there for a second or two. I'm going to just put the lids back on the powders because the last thing I want now is for me to sneeze and it go everywhere. And I think we could probably benefit now from a tidy up, a clean up here, and then adding the last few kind of accent colours on there. I might just use up what's left there just to add some colour to the spine there, but I think that's what I'll do, just use up what I've got there on the green, the blue, and just kind of mix it on the spine. So next time I see you, I'll be tidied up, I'll have done that, and then we'll be back ready to add the final kind of accent colour over the top. Okay, so I've gone over the spine, as you can see, it's all nice and shiny. Everything else, it's still quite dark, but that's fine. So what I've got now is I've put 2 lots of that gilding gum out. So let's very carefully open the Penny Dreadful pot of copper. And I've got my brush. So I'm just going to take a little bit so the head of the brush is falling off. I'm just going to take a little bit of the copper, because this is one of those one of these colours that give the product its name, because it is extremely luscious. And then I'm just going to take a little bit off, because what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and do a bit of dry brushing just on the edges, just to kind of give it a little bit of a highlight. It just adds a touch of warmth. Over pretty much everything. And then of course the main thing is getting a little bit of that warmth into the birdie's belly there. So I'm just really gently just dry brushing in. Just a little each time. Down to the legs, and just a touch beyond the tail, and then we'll just start picking out that colour as an accent all over the rest. I just hope the lighting in here isn't just too matte or flat for it to not pick up. Because it really is adding a really nice kind of warmth to that blue. Let's mix some more up now. There we go. And I'm just coming in on the edges. So the blue and the copper works really well. If I just move it around, you can see probably the angle better. It does catch at different sort of angles. It's just a question of keeping going around. Because of the shine, it's difficult to see. And that's always been one of the problems when you're using metallics and micas and stuff. Particularly when you try and filming it for other people to see. It's quite difficult without constantly turning it around for you to pick up. Because literally the shine just gets in the way. I can come back in and add a bit more blue on there. I've just caught it slightly. But there's almost like an aged patina. I won't say a verdigris to it. Because that might be a little bit too strong a word. And I wouldn't have even said it was steampunky either. But the copper does kind of, you know, give you that impression. But because you've got the blue underneath, it is kind of industrially, I suppose. Right, just add a bit more of that copper up top here. Okay, so just for the time being, let's dispense with the copper. Get the lid on properly. Let me just tidy a little bit of that up. I'm not going to get rid of all of the gum. And let's see whether we can just add in another bit more warmth with this olive gold. It would have been better if I put the pot over that side. Okay, and again, we just want to add just a little bit of golden warmth. Not a huge amount. But I do want some on the beak. So just a little bit of dry brushing. Just to add a little bit of contrast. And it does start to kind of pick out and illuminate some of those other elements. Try and blend that on the snails back a little bit. There we go. And then I'm just going a little bit, a real small amount, just gently on the bird. I'm just going to come in just along that edge and then down to the tail. I think it just helps to highlight it a little bit. And the legs. Right, I'm going to let that sit and dry for a little while, and then I'll have a quick tidy up and then I'll be back. Okay, so as you can see, I've done my tidy up. You can see how shiny it is, but because the light reflects back on that mica, it's going to be really kind of difficult for you to see properly what it looks like. So I'm going to try a little experiment. So I'm going to just take my camera off the shelf and then just go around. Hopefully you can see it better in a bit more detail. You can literally see every brush stroke. And I'm hoping that the colours are as vibrant on the screen that you're watching them on as they are on the screen that I'm seeing them on. Okay, so back up again. There we go. So what you could do as a final touch, I know this is what a lot of people do when they're creating their 3D canvases and that kind of thing, is you can come in with some white gesso and just dry brush, add what I class as frosting to all the elements if you wanted to, just to add that final kind of highlight to the edges. I don't necessarily like doing that on every project that I do. I only do it on some occasionally, but it is an option as well if you want to do that, just to go over the final layer with some white gesso, just to catch those edges, just to give it that kind of frosted look. But I'm quite happy with the way that is, to be honest. So all I have to do now is spend some time going through the book, gluing groups of pages together so that I can start working and using this as a journal. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me create this altered book cover today. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. And don't forget, you can access your exclusive angel-only content over on my website. There's a link in the description area below. Thank you.